Is that Jesus Christ? Please, please, our Father God.
I am. Praise you, Jesus.
People have believed in Jesus for thousands of years, and the Bible always says he shows up in the clouds, in bright light, at times when nobody expects it. But here's what's strange. In our modern world, where cameras are everywhere, pictures like that have started popping up more and more. A lot of folks say it's just pareidolia, the way our brains naturally see familiar shapes in clouds. For people with faith, though, it's never just a coincidence. And right there, on that thin line between science and the sacred, our story starts. 7 moments, 7 video clips that went all over the world, showing things that plenty of people truly believe are signs from God. Maybe you've already seen a couple of them. Or maybe this is the first time you're seeing all 7 put side by side, looked at closely, and compared, so a bigger message comes through. And if you're watching this video right now, it might not be an accident. Sacred signs usually find the right person at the right time. Sometimes that's just God's way of saying, I'm still here. Watch all the way to the end, because this blessing isn't just something to hear, it's something to receive. And the journey starts exactly where the Bible always says it does, up in the sky, where he often appears in light and clouds. That brings us to our first moment. So come along with me now, and let's go through each one of these real-life sightings of Jesus, one by one. 1. A dark shadow, slowly drifting across the sky. Out in rural Texas, on a quiet afternoon with the temperature sitting around 75 degrees, a man was driving down the highway when he happened to glance up. What he saw unfolded real slow, like a page turning itself in a book right in front of him. No horns blaring, no wind howling, just that big Texas silence covering everything. And right in the middle of that stillness, something strange showed up. He pulled over to the side of the road, like some gentle, invisible hand tugged him out of the flow of everyday life. I swear, if you'd been standing there, you'd have felt it too. Something quiet but powerful in the air, like the whole world took a deep breath and held it. His hand shook a little as he lifted his phone and zoomed in on that dark shape floating slow above the clouds. It wasn't tearing through the sky, it was gliding, soft as a ghost, wrapped in white, arms stretched wide. The shape was one anybody who's ever stepped inside a church would know in a heartbeat. Jesus. No glowing halo, no blinding light, just a humble figure melting into the pale evening sky, looking more and more like he was opening his arms to hug the whole world. Simple enough to give you chills more than knock you over. Of course, the experts came along with their own ideas. Psychologists from the University of Toronto called it pareidolia, our brains seeing familiar patterns in random things, the same way we look at the moon and swear we see a smiling face that isn't really there. Weather folks from NOAA said it was probably thin cirrus clouds mixing with the late-day light, playing tricks on the eyes. But you tell me, can pure coincidence feel that holy? Sometimes science says one thing and your heart whispers another. And in moments like these, the heart usually knows first. The Bible talks about the Lord coming with the clouds. Revelation 1:7 says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him." And Matthew 24:30 says, "The Son of Man will appear in the sky, coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." That dark figure with arms wide open looked an awful lot like those old promises, Jesus stretching out his arms the same way he did on the cross, ready to hold the whole broken world. What started as one man's private moment out on the wide Texas plains turned into something bigger, something the Lord seemed to want a whole little community to see together. The next part of the story makes it even clearer. 2. A familiar figure appears in the open sky, right in the middle of white clouds, in front of hundreds of people. In a small village in Mexico, about 50 miles from the U.S. border, on a cool morning, with a gentle breeze blowing across the wide fields. A man was flying a kite when he suddenly looked toward the horizon. It seemed like just an ordinary, peaceful moment, until something showed up that left the whole village stunned. The sky was so clear you could see every thin layer of early morning clouds, almost like soft breath in the air. And out of that quiet calm came something strange. At first, the man just stopped for a few seconds, but then he felt this was more than regular sunrise clouds. When he called everyone over, the feeling in the village changed in a heartbeat, from quiet to excited, from curious to hopeful. Don't you get that same feeling watching the video? Like something holy is about to step into the light. Then the bright clouds slowly opened up and revealed a huge dark shape flying slowly across the sky. The figure looked like it was wearing a big white robe, arms spread wide as if it wanted to hug the whole sky, with a faint glow around its head that made it both clear and mysterious. The whole village cheered. Some people were so moved they started crying. Others dropped to their knees and bowed their heads. You could feel the excitement even when people told the story later. It was one of those shared moments that still gives you goosebumps when you watch the video again. Of course, once the news picked it up, the experts came in with their calm explanations. A writer from Psychology Today called it group pareidolia. One person sees a familiar shape, then the whole crowd gets caught up in the same illusion. A weather scientist from Mexico's National University said thick cumulus clouds plus low morning sunlight can easily form human-like shapes, especially with the light coming in at a sharp angle. To them, it was just nature doing its thing. But for the hundreds of people standing there that morning, the feeling went way deeper. The Bible talks about moments like that. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." And Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those verses aren't only about disasters, they're about signs in the sky that whole communities see together. The way a shepherd gathers his sheep to remind them he's still watching over them. That morning in Mexico felt like a gentle call from heaven. A reminder that sometimes God chooses to show up in broad daylight, right out in the open, to strengthen the faith of an entire village. And after this powerful shared experience, we'll head over to the Middle East, where a much more private moment ended up spreading blessing all across social media. 3. A shadowy figure behind the clouds. Out in a desert area of Iraq, in the Middle East, about 100 miles from Baghdad, a man was unloading his truck and taking a break under the blazing sun when he looked up at the sky. At first, it seemed like just another ordinary midday in the scorching desert. But then his eyes caught something unusual, a faint yet glowing shape that looked like it was watching over everyone down below. The figure showed up behind a big stratus cloud, and the man couldn't look away. He pulled out his phone, recorded the strange moment, and posted the video with a caption about it being a blessing for anyone who saw it. Funny thing is, once the video got shared, it spread like wildfire, and tons of folks felt the same spiritual shiver, like God himself was sending a message from above. Scientists, of course, had their explanation. Live science called it pareidolia. That's when your brain fills in the blanks in a picture and turns it into something familiar. A meteorologist with the World Meteorological Organization said the way sunlight bounces off stratus clouds at just the right angle can trick your eyes into seeing a familiar shape. But for believers, that explanation doesn't take away one bit of the holiness of the moment. This sighting in Iraq ties straight back to promises in the Bible. Genesis 28:15 says, "I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." And Psalm 91:11, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Seeing the Lord's image out there in the desert became a beautiful picture of his protection, reminding us he never leaves. He watches every step his people take. What that man felt, and what so many online felt too, was like a gentle nudge. Even in the driest, hottest, most empty place, God can still show up, quietly watching and pouring out blessings. If you can picture yourself standing in that desert right then, you know exactly the feeling, don't you? This moment bridges faith and real life. It sparks curiosity and warms the hearts of anyone looking for a sign from Him. From that hazy, glowing desert in Iraq with its mysterious presence, we now move to a gorgeous sunset here in America, where the last light of day almost seems to invite us to stop and take in another message from the Lord. This one quiet and tender, yet just as powerful. 4. A cloud shaped like the Lord glowing in the sunset. On a beach in California, about 20 miles from Los Angeles, a man was walking along the sand one evening as the sun was going down. The sky was all orange and gold from the sunset, and when he looked toward the horizon, something caught his eye. Up in the high, rippled altocumulus clouds, there was a clear shape, a figure bowed in thought, like he was quietly watching over everything below. The man pulled out his phone and started recording, feeling amazed and peaceful at the same time. The cloud looked like a mysterious portrait, with a faint halo around the head that made the whole thing feel alive, close yet holy. When he shared the video, lots of other folks saw the same thing. To them, it felt like the gentle but powerful presence of God, a soft reminder in the middle of our busy lives. Experts say it's just pareidolia. Our brains love finding familiar patterns, especially when the sunset lights up the sky in warm colors. NASA explains that altocumulus clouds catch the light of the setting sun and can take on random shapes that happen to look like something meaningful. It's completely natural. Still, for people who believe, the scientific explanation doesn't take away the sacred feeling of the moment. This picture ties right in with words from the Bible. Mark 14:62 says, "And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." And in Daniel 7:13, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven." That quiet, bowed figure in the sunset becomes a beautiful symbol of God, watching, judging, and caring for the world from above. Moments like this remind us that even in the grand beauty of nature and our everyday routines, God is quietly there, not just as a shape in the clouds, but as a gentle nudge that He's watching over us, protecting us, and cheering us on when we listen. It feels close and deep all at once, and it touches your heart. From that peaceful beach and soft sunset, we now move to a much wilder scene, right before a big storm rolls in, where God no longer appears quiet and thoughtful, but mighty and majestic, creating a breathtaking, powerful sight that makes everyone stop and stare. 5. A giant, shadowy figure flickering behind dark gray clouds after a storm. In Florida, USA, about 30 miles from Miami, right before a big storm with strong winds, a local guy was watching the sky as thick black clouds rolled in. Red lightning flashed through the clouds, and right in the middle of all that darkness, a huge figure appeared, walking slowly with a staff, steady and majestic, like it was looking over everything. It felt powerful and holy at the same time. The man who saw it was blown away. He quickly grabbed his phone and recorded this rare moment. To him, it felt like God Himself standing right there in the middle of the wild storm, huge yet somehow close and comforting. People who watched the video later felt the same strength. It was like a reminder that His power is always near for those who believe. Experts from Science Direct say it's pareidolia mixed with an optical illusion, light hitting the clouds in a way that makes our brains see familiar shapes in random patterns. The National Weather Service says these short-lived shadows on big cumulonimbus clouds are perfectly natural and nothing unusual. Still, for believers, that moment became a symbol of God's power and protection. The image brings to mind Bible verses like Joel 2:30, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke," and Revelation 13:13. It performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of the people. That giant figure with the staff looked like a warrior guarding his people, reminding us that even in life's worst storms, he's right there. It's a feeling that's both mighty and tender. It touches your heart. From Florida, where the Lord showed up strong in the dark clouds, we'll now move to a quiet, peaceful moment inside a church. Soft light, calm, and the kind of place that builds patience and deep faith. 6. Picture of the Lord walking across the sky. In Jerusalem, Israel, about 5 miles from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, folks were crowding into the church to pray on a nice, mild day under a clear blue sky. Right in the middle of all that hurried praying, a bunch of people suddenly looked up. There was this strange cloud drifting slowly by. It looked just like a footprint in the desert sand, and right there was the shape of Jesus wearing a white robe, like he was making a pilgrimage along with everybody else. For a moment, everything stopped. Life slowed down, and people's hearts filled with patience and quiet. Folks grabbed their phones real quick to snap pictures. They truly felt something holy right there in the middle of an ordinary day, like the Lord himself was walking with them through all the hard parts of life. The photos spread like wildfire online and brought a warm, deep sense of faith to a whole lot of people. Experts on Wikipedia say it's a thing called pareidolia, especially in religious settings. Your brain fills in the blanks and turns random shapes into something familiar when you're already thinking about faith. A scientist from the Israel Meteorological Institute explained that high cirrostratus clouds plus desert winds can make some pretty striking shapes. Still, to believers, it was a clear spiritual sign. That moment reminds us of the Bible. Exodus 13:21. By day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. And Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. The Lord showing up as a guide in the wilderness, reminding us every step we take is watched over and led. From that guiding moment in Jerusalem, we're about to move to the final one, where Golden Light in Alabama reveals the Lord watching over his people with love, like he's giving one last blessing to every patient heart. 7. A cloud shaped like the Lord, all golden, like it came straight from heaven. Out in Alabama, just 15 miles from Birmingham, on a late afternoon with that deep golden sunshine pouring down, folks were gathered outside. As the sun started setting in a blaze of light, everybody looked up at once. There, right in the middle of the sky, was this beautiful golden cloud that looked exactly like Jesus, with his hands folded behind him, quietly watching over the world with peace and power. It stopped people in their tracks and made them feel his gentle but mighty presence right there in the middle of an ordinary day. Phones and cameras came out fast, catching that amazing sight, and the pictures spread comfort and hope all through the community. People got quiet, bowed their heads a little, and felt like they were being watched over, like the Lord was keeping an eye on every step they took in that warm golden light. The folks at Grokist say it's a thing called pareidolia, where our brains see familiar shapes, like a face or figure, in clouds or nature, especially when we're already feeling spiritual. A weather expert from NOAA explained that these lenticular clouds were catching the sunset just right, turning that rich gold color and looking almost like folded hands, gazing down. But for believers, it felt like a real sign of God's protection. It brings to mind a couple of Bible verses. Psalm 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. And Hebrews 1:14, are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? The Lord showing up like a loving watcher, reminding us he's guarding us every single day and giving us fresh faith and courage. These golden moments don't stand alone. They all fit together into one big picture, leading us toward the final part where the deeper meaning of all 7 signs will come clear, like the Lord himself is inviting every heart to notice his presence and his love. Which one of these has touched you the deepest? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what spoke to you most. Now let's look back one more time. You and I will piece together the big picture so we can really understand what a huge deal His presence is. You ready? 7 strange moments stretched across Mexico, the Middle East, California, Florida, Jerusalem, and Alabama painted a wild picture in the sky, where light, clouds, and amazing shapes came together as gentle signs. Every cloud, from Jesus showing up in the Mexican sky to that giant figure leaning on a staff in Florida, had its own look, but put together they made a mysterious connection that made your heart feel like God was right there in everyday life. Sunrise light, sunset glow, faint shapes or golden ones, all of them quietly saying, He's always watching over us and keeping us safe. In Mexico, a shining cloud, with Jesus opening His arms to hug the world, moved the whole village. Just like the Bible says in Acts 2:19, I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. Then in Iraq, a shadowy figure of the Lord over the desert reminded us He's the watchman guarding His people. Genesis 28:15. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Whether one person saw it or a crowd did, every image showed the same loving care. California gave us a quiet, thoughtful moment, a cloud bowing its head with a glowing halo around it, like Jesus is looking down on the world, weighing things carefully. Mark 14:62 says, And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. Florida showed a huge, strong figure leaning on a staff in dark clouds, pure power and protection in the storm. Joel 2:30, I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The calm watching and the mighty strength side by side tell us God doesn't just watch. He shelters and steps in, quietly but clearly. In Jerusalem, a cloud that looked like the Lord's footprint, with a pilgrim's scarf, brought peace to the crowded streets and lifted everyone's faith and patience. Exodus 13:21. By day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way. It's proof that nature, light, and clouds can be tools God uses to speak and lead us. Scientists call it pareidolia, sure, but for believers it's a spiritual sign. Finally, Alabama gave us a golden cloud of Jesus with hands clasped, just watching over mankind, a daily reminder that Psalm 46:1 is true. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. These moments make a holy rhythm, from sunrise to sunset, desert to seashore, one person to whole communities, showing God shows up not just in books but in regular life, through light, clouds, and the deep feeling in our hearts. The real connection isn't only the shapes or the light, it's the message. God is everywhere, guiding and protecting from a Mexican dawn to an Alabama evening. Signs in the sky remind us He's watching, nudging, and blessing us every single day, tying every heart together with faith and gratitude. Science can't explain it or not, but these moments still light up the soul and let us feel God's wonder and daily presence in the little things of the universe. In this case, pareidolia isn't just the brain seeing familiar patterns. It's one gentle way God talks to us, turning science into sacred signs. The Bible backs it up in Hebrews 1:14. Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? Every moment mixes power, protection, and guidance, like He's always sending angels in the shape of clouds, light, or familiar pictures to remind us He's here and He loves us. Looking at all 7 moments together, you see a steady flow from peaceful signs to powerful ones, from one person to whole groups, sunrise to sunset. They make a beautiful symphony you can see and feel, where God shows up in images, light, and clouds, strengthening faith and patience, calling us to look for blessings, live better, and know He's right beside us. In the end, these moments invite every one of us to stop, look up at the sky, and feel God's presence in ordinary days. They're more than strange cloud pictures. They're reminders that every ray of light, every cloud, every single moment can be the way God speaks, lifts us up, and pours out blessings on all of us. It's a journey of faith that ties science and spirit together, from Mexico to Alabama, desert to seashore, dawn to dusk, where each of us can know for sure He's right here. When you look back at those 7 strange moments in the sky, from Mexico all the way to Alabama, do you notice something quiet but powerful? God isn't far away, or just someone you read about in a book. He's right here, watching over us, keeping us safe, and guiding us every single second. Every cloud, every ray of light, every amazing shape is a gentle reminder that His power and love are all around us. These things aren't just tricks of the light or something we imagine. They're real signs that God sends to wake up our faith and help us see He cares about every little detail of our lives. When you see the shape of Jesus in the clouds over California, or that huge figure with a staff in Florida, you feel protected and strong. Psalm 91:11 says, "For He will command His angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Those aren't just words. They come alive in nature and light, and every believing heart feels the peace. Even when science calls it pareidolia, that doesn't take away how holy it feels. If anything, it shows how clever God is, using shapes our eyes can recognize, yet still mysterious enough to touch our souls. Like that golden cloud with hands folded in prayer over Alabama, the sunset light turning into something so familiar, reminding us He's watching and protecting us every day. Psalm 121:5. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. Down in Mexico, Jesus, with His arms wide open, hugging the world, shows He's here even in the ordinary stuff. From sunlight breaking through clouds to quiet moments most folks miss. In Jerusalem, the cloud shaped like God's footprint, leading the way through all the crowds, reminds us His guidance and protection never leave, even when everything feels crazy. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. These signs show the gentle connection between nature and faith. They turn random sky moments into living messages that make us stop, look up, and remember He's keeping watch. Even in the middle of a storm, like that huge staff-holding cloud in Florida, we feel His comfort and mighty protection. Psalm 18:2. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield, and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. Every moment, big or small, ordinary or breathtaking, fits together into one big picture that proves God is still here, still caring, still protecting us, day after day. The glowing gold light in Alabama, or the thoughtful-looking shape in California, aren't just weather. They're quiet reminders that He's watching every step, every choice, every heart. And in this mixed-up world full of pressure, trouble, and worry, these wonderful moments are pure comfort. They remind us God's power has no limits, and every time we look up at the sky, we can feel His protection, His guidance, and His constant presence. Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. The natural thing to do next is keep our eyes and hearts open. Notice His signs in the everyday stuff. Pray and thank Him for always being here. God can show up in a sunset, in clouds that look familiar, or in a quiet moment inside us. Psalm 34:7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him, and He delivers them. Those words remind us He's here, not just way up in heaven, but right in the middle of regular life, leading and protecting us. When you look at all of them together, from Mexico to Alabama, from sunrise to sunset, every moment is a sign of His love and power. They paint one big picture of God always being with us. Every beam of light, every cloud, every wonderful shape says He's not far off, and every single one of us can feel and receive His daily protection. In the end, The biggest message from all these moments is simple. God is still here. He still cares, and He still protects us every single day, even when we forget to look up. Let the light, the clouds, and these gentle signs remind us to pause, look up, pray, and know He's right beside us, watching over us, and keeping us safe every moment of our lives. Here's a series of 7 amazing moments in the sky, from California to Alabama, from Jerusalem to Florida, and when you put them all together, they paint one big picture of God always being right here with us. Every shape in the clouds, every mysterious ray of light, every figure someone caught on camera. It's not just weather or tricks of the light. These are little signs, gentle reminders that the Lord is still watching over us, protecting us, and guiding us every single second. From that quiet, thoughtful profile in the clouds over California, to the huge figure leaning on a staff in a Florida lightning storm, from the footprints of God leading the way in Jerusalem, to the golden praying hands in the sky over Alabama, all of them together make a chain of moments that show His power and His never-ending love. These pictures tie faith to real life, science to mystery, and prove that God is real and right there in the little details every day. When science says it's just pareidolia, or the way light bends, that doesn't take away the holiness at all. If anything, it shows how clever He is, using nature and light itself to whisper messages to us. He picks shapes we already know and love, so we'll feel His protection and remember He loves us, and He invites our hearts to open up and notice Him every single day. These moments also remind us that He's guiding and shielding us in ordinary life. In a world that feels crazy sometimes, when we're worried or going through hard things, a bright golden light, a thoughtful face, or footprints in the clouds become something solid to hold on to in our hearts. Like the Bible says in Deuteronomy 31:8, "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you, nor forsake you." He's not just way up high somewhere. He's right here in our everyday moments, watching and guarding every step we take. Let these moments wake up our faith and help us put our hope in the fact that He's always here. Every time you look up at the sky, see His love and power written there. Don't let these beautiful seconds slip by without noticing. Pray, tell your own stories, and let them draw your heart closer to Him and to the people around you. And if these things touch your heart, please pass the wonder on. Hit like, share, and subscribe so more folks can see these amazing moments and spot God showing up in regular life. When we notice together, pray together, and share together, His power and love feel closer, more alive, and more encouraging than ever.
It's like a meteor shower was actually pieces of a Chinese Long March rocket.
그러니까.
Snowflakes shimmer in the air, while in the shadows, they seem to vanish completely.
Just in 2025 alone, the whole world has been shaken by strange things nobody's ever seen before. Mysterious lights floating around in the sky over America, blood-red clouds covering Europe, giant whirlpools swallowing up lakes in the Middle East. It all feels like pieces of one big, scary prophecy falling into place. Scientists, news people, and religious folks are all stunned. Nobody can fully explain it. These things aren't random. They're happening in key spots. America with the weird stuff at Yosemite, Europe with those freaky cloud storms, the Middle East with earthquake-type signs. The planet is changing fast. Extreme weather everywhere, and it sure looks like everything is lining up to warn us that a great cleansing is coming. Something like Noah's flood, but way worse, beyond anything we can imagine. Everything's been caught on drones and high-speed cameras, with exact measurements in miles and feet. This isn't just regular weather or earthquakes. It feels symbolic, like clear warnings from above. Science tries to explain it with quantum physics or climate change, but there are still way too many mysteries. A lot of Bible scholars believe these are the signs of the 7 angels blowing their trumpets in the book of Revelation. Every picture, Every movement seems to say the same thing. Mankind is standing right at the door of divine judgment. We're almost out of time. This message found you for a reason. You're one of the people it was meant for. So please watch all the way to the end for the full picture. Okay? Now come with me and let's look at each of these events one by one and how scarily close they match the prophecies in the Bible. 1. 7 strange shooting stars that acted like they had a mind of their own. One evening in March 2025, out in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado, where the sky's so clear you can see every single star, a 4 or 5-year-old guy named John Ramirez was walking with his family when the sky suddenly lit up in a weird way. 7 glowing dots appeared, flying in a perfectly straight line. They looked like shooting stars, but there were no fiery tails. And get this, they were only going about 20 miles a minute, way too slow for regular meteors. NASA hadn't said a word about any meteor shower, yet that light made everybody's heart skip a beat. At first, there was just one bright one leading the pack, shining like Jupiter at magnitude -2.9, coming from the northeast and moving nice and slow, almost like it was guiding the others. Then the other 6 showed up one by one, forming a perfect V shape, spaced about 500 feet apart. They circled around the neighborhood for a good 15 minutes, didn't fall, just flew across the sky, then headed off toward the southwest and vanished without a trace. John pulled out his phone and recorded the whole thing. That video blew up online. Millions of people watched it with their mouths hanging open. What do you think about that? Astronomers from the National Observatory in New Mexico said it might have been a drone swarm, maybe some military drones that got off course, or plasma clouds from a solar storm hitting the atmosphere. But no radar picked up anything, and that super slow speed doesn't match normal meteors that burn up 50 to 75 miles high. It's just too strange to explain away with regular science. Now, think about the Bible. Revelation 8:6-7. Then the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire, mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Those 7 lights in the sky feel a lot like the 7 trumpet warnings getting ready for judgment. Just like the 7 angels standing before God's throne, these stars flew in formation like they knew exactly what they were doing, waking people up from living in sin. They didn't fall randomly. They were a call to repent before the great cleansing comes. And while you're still wondering if it was all in their heads, get ready. The next sign is coming. Blood-red clouds about to cover the skies over Europe, letting us know God's wrath is drawing near. 2. A blood-red cloud, shaped just like a raging flood, swallowing the whole sky. Back in June 2025, in a little village in the Middle East, a place soaked in old stories and deep faith, a 62-year-old Elena Moreau was filming the sunset when the sky suddenly went crazy. Out of nowhere came this huge cloud, bright red like fresh blood, spreading almost 10 miles wide and turning the whole evening sky a terrifying crimson. Can you even imagine how that felt right then? The cloud spun like a tornado with winds hitting 50 miles an hour, forming big swirling loops that looked exactly like floodwaters rushing in, sucking everything up in its path. It kept twisting and turning for a full 20 minutes before it finally broke apart, leaving the air smelling sharp like metal. Her video spread like wildfire across the Middle East and left millions of people stunned. Scientists from the European Weather Center, ECMWF, said it might have been a lenticular cloud mixed with red dust blown in from the Sahara Desert, catching the sunlight in a weird way. But that floodwater swirl didn't match any normal weather pattern at all. It felt way beyond regular science, maybe tied to extreme climate shifts. Did your heart start pounding just hearing about it? The Bible, in Revelation 6:12, says, "I watched as the Lamb opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. That blood red cloud feels like a picture of the bloodshed coming on Judgment Day, a warning that God's anger is about to pour out. Just like the river of blood in Pharaoh's dream, Genesis 41:1-7, this swirling cloud seems to point to another great flood coming, one that will wash away sin, its red color standing for the blood of those who never repented. Can you picture yourself standing in the desert, looking straight up at something like that? From these blood-red skies over the Middle East, our eyes now turn to the next sign, a mysterious, heavenly blue cloud that showed up over an American diner, opening a doorway to paradise and pulling us deeper into this chain of supernatural events that nobody can look away from. 3. A strange circle of clouds, like the gates of heaven opening up. Back in September 2025, at Bel Pasto, a popular Italian restaurant in Montauk, New York, the five-year-old owner, Michael Rossi, was checking the backyard when the sky right above the restaurant suddenly did something really weird. Dark bluish-gray clouds rolled together out of nowhere and formed a perfect circle almost a mile wide, with a bright, pure white center that sparkled like crystal. Can you even imagine standing under something like that? The circle spun slowly for about 10 minutes, completely quiet, but you could feel the power. Then it just faded away, leaving this holy, almost spooky feeling in the air. Michael quickly grabbed his phone, filmed it from 20 feet up, and yep, the video blew up all over the internet. Thousands of people were just stunned. Everyone who saw it in person felt like some supernatural force was hanging out right over their roof. Weather folks from NOAA said it was a hole punch cloud caused by a plane flying through cirrocumulus clouds, and the weird blue color might have come from Rayleigh scattering. But that perfectly round shape and the crystal clear white center, it's hard for science to fully explain, and it left a lot of folks wondering, is this really just nature or a message from above? When you look at the Bible, Revelation 4:1 says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven, and the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, 'Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this.'" That bright white circle in the sky looked exactly like an open door to heaven, inviting everyone to look toward the light and maybe turn their lives around. Just like the pillar of cloud that led the Israelites through the desert, Exodus 13:21. This circle feels like a sign pointing to a way out of the coming Great Tribulation, a reminder to faithful people that there's still a path straight into heaven. Don't you almost feel like you're being guided toward that door yourself, standing in front of a mysterious gate that could close any minute? As the gates of heaven quietly close again, invisible lines start showing up, reminding us how urgent and mysterious everything around us really is. And right now, let's turn our eyes to the fourth sign, a bridge in the Middle East where something's about to happen that you won't be able to look away from. 4. Snow falling in strange paths, forming an invisible wall. On Christmas night, early in 2025, over at the bridge that connects the two sides of Europe, snow started coming down hard against the glow of all those old buildings lit up with holiday lights. A man, a 38-year-old driver, was crossing the bridge when he suddenly saw something unbelievable. The snowflakes were flying in weird paths and then just stopped dead in midair, like they hit an invisible wall about 100 feet from the bridge. Can you imagine how creepy that felt? Pure white snow just hanging there, splitting the sky into two completely different sides. It lasted almost 5 minutes. On one side, the snow piled up 2 feet deep. On the other side, not a single flake touched the ground. A man quickly pulled out his phone and recorded it. That video spread like wildfire, leaving everybody stunned and a little spooked. The invisible wall felt like some secret line drawn in the air, turning a quiet night into something heavy and tense, like time itself had frozen. Geologists from Hebrew University said it might have been a microburst, a sharp pocket of cold air and wind that blocked the snow. But the edge was so perfectly straight, like a real wall. It made regular physics look silly. Folks watching the clip kept asking themselves, is this just nature playing a trick? Or is it a warning from above about the line between good and evil? It brings to mind Matthew 25, verse 32, where it says, "All the nations will be gathered before him, and he'll separate people like a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats." That wall of snow felt like a picture straight out of prophecy, showing the divide between those who'll be saved and those who won't. And it sure makes you wonder which side you'd end up on. Just like the Valley of Hinnom marked a dividing line in Jeremiah 19, this wall seemed to stand for two worlds side by side. One side facing judgment, the other kept safe under God's light. Don't you feel the urgency when something as simple as an unseen wall can make everything around it feel so charged and mysterious? When the snow finally stopped, everything looked normal again. But the strange signs didn't end there. The fifth sign from the American Ocean is getting ready to sound, reminding us all that messages from heaven are still coming. 5. A huge school of fish clumps together, forming the shape of a giant octopus. One evening in April 2025, down at Malibu Beach in California, the sunset was glowing on the deep blue water when a tour group spotted something strange from a drone flying about 200 feet up. All of a sudden, thousands of fish started moving together like one big creature. They formed a pitch-black mass sliding across the surface, a perfect octopus shape, 50 feet long. Everybody just stood there with their mouths open. Can you picture it? You're looking at the ocean, and all at once it feels alive, like the sea itself is trying to tell you something. The school stayed close to the sandy shore for a good 30 minutes, twisting and turning smooth as silk, then broke apart out of nowhere, leaving only little waves rippling like the last notes of some mysterious song. The drone caught every second of it. The video spread like wildfire online, and scientists and regular folks started arguing. Was this something supernatural, or just wild animals moving together? Marine biologists from Scripps said it's called schooling behavior. Fish bunch up and swim in sync when they get spooked, maybe by military sonar this time. And the octopus shape was just random, but it was so perfectly timed that a lot of people wondered if there was some kind of group intelligence sending a message. It left you with that spooky, thrilling feeling, like the ocean was talking straight to us. Then folks started thinking about the Bible. Revelation 13:1 says, "I stood on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. That octopus shape floating there felt like a warning straight out of Scripture. Remember how a great fish swallowed Jonah in Jonah 1:17? A lot of people saw this school of fish the same way, a sign from creation itself about a coming flood, urging everybody to wake up and pay attention. When you watch the sea like that, and even the mountains seem to tremble, it feels like the next sign, the 6th one, coming from Yosemite, where the earth itself is starting to tell its strange story. 6. The golden waterfall that shone like fairy dust in Yosemite. In the middle of summer, July 2025, the late afternoon sun hit El Capitan in Yosemite, California, and something amazing happened to Bridal Veil Fall. The water turned bright gold, sparkling like fairy dust, glowing in the middle of that wild, mighty valley. It honestly felt like a little piece of heaven was pouring down to earth. Your heart started beating faster, and you couldn't take your eyes off it. For about 10 minutes, the whole waterfall flowed pure gold, every drop catching the light like tiny bits of gold floating in the air. It was magical and left you speechless. A drone flying about 100 feet up caught it all on video, and once that clip hit the internet, everybody lost their minds. Regular folks and scientists alike were arguing about what in the world caused it. Some geologists from the USGS said it was probably iron minerals turning rusty, mixed with a little acid rain. Fair enough. But that explanation didn't come close to describing how pure and otherworldly the light looked. The whole place got so quiet, you could almost hear your own heartbeat, like nature was whispering something important that only a few people would catch. It made me think of Revelation 21, verse 18, where it says, "The walls of the city were pure gold, clear as glass." This golden waterfall felt like a little glimpse of heaven breaking through, right in the middle of a troubled world. Proof that light and life are still here, no matter what. Like the river of the water of life, in Revelation 22, verse 1. That shining water felt like God's grace pouring out in the middle of hard times, inviting anyone who believes to come find peace and salvation. And then, as the sun dropped behind the mountains and the gold slowly faded into the evening shadows, you realized this was the seventh sign, the last one, following that strange lake in Europe, reminding us all that something big is still coming. 7. A strange giant sinkhole appears in the lake, greedily swallowing everything around it. In October 2025, at Crater Lake in Oregon, a terrifying sight showed up right in front of a group of folks fishing along the shore. All of a sudden, the lake water rose up and formed a huge hole, about 200 feet across, that started swallowing everything nearby, even little branches floating on the surface. Your heart feels like it skips a beat watching that powerful whirlpool spin, shooting up and dropping back down out of nowhere, making this low, creepy rumbling sound. The whirlpool spun for 8 whole minutes, draining part of the lake and leaving the air feeling heavy, like nature itself was trying to warn us something big is coming. A drone caught the whole thing from the shore, and the video left people online and scientists shaking their heads, hardly able to believe their eyes. It sure makes you realize how scary water can be, like a reminder that nature's got a dark, mysterious side. Hydrologists from ETH Zurich say it was a whirlpool caused by a small earthquake under the lake, but the size of that hole and the speed it sucked things in was way beyond anything normal. Every turn of that swirl carried terrifying power, almost like the lake was daring the laws of physics to do something about it. Thinking about the Bible, Genesis 7:11 says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened." This whirlpool felt like a little picture of the great flood, a symbol of the waters that washed away sin, reminding us what happens when people turn their backs on God, like the pit that swallows everything in Psalm 69-15. This hole in the lake stands for nature's power to destroy, sweeping sin away, and only the folks who pay attention and keep their eyes open will hear God's warning in it. Now, looking back at all these strange things we've seen lately, the pieces seem to fit together into one big picture of God's power, His grace, and His judgment. We've just gone through 7 warning signs that mankind is about to step into the second great cleansing after the flood in Noah's day. Which one of these signs stuck with you the most or gave you the chills? Feel free to tell me in the comments below. All right, now let's go back over these 7 signs one more time together, nice and easy. All right. Now let's go back over these 7 signs one more time together, nice and easy. In 2025, 7 strange things happened that all seemed to fit together like pieces of a big, dramatic prophecy puzzle, stretching from the skies over Denver all the way to the beaches of Malibu, from the misty fields of Provence to chilly Lake Geneva, and even to a bridge somewhere in Europe. Each one was beautiful and powerful in its own way, but they all carried some kind of mysterious message that science couldn't quite explain, and they lined up real close with things written in the Bible long ago. When you look at the whole string of them, you get this mix of wonder and chills, like the world itself is starting to spill secrets it's kept hidden for a real long time. First, back to Denver. Those meteors weren't just regular shooting stars anymore. They moved like they knew what they were doing, flying in weird patterns, almost like they were sounding a trumpet in the night sky. Scientists were stumped, but Revelation chapter 8 says, "I saw 7 angels who had 7 trumpets." It felt like the very first warning bell, telling folks to wake up before judgment comes, every streak of light like the universe tapping us on the shoulder. Then over in the Middle East, a blood-red cloud spread across the evening sky, swirling around like a giant flood ready to break loose. Every twist in that cloud felt heavy, like trouble and violence were on the way. Revelation 6 verse 12 says, "The sun turned black like rough wool, and the full moon turned blood red." Looking at that cloud, you could almost see disaster creeping closer, reminding everybody to turn things around before blood really does run like rivers. At Bel Posto in Wantok, a perfect ring of white cloud showed up like an open door in a stormy gray-blue sky. The shape was so clean and the light so pure, it felt like an invitation to step into something holy. Revelation 4 verse 1 says, "Look, a door stood open in heaven, and a voice said, 'Come up here.'" You almost felt personally invited, like that door was waiting for anyone who stayed faithful in this crazy modern world. On a bridge somewhere in Europe, snow fell thick on one side only, building an invisible wall that split the view in two. One side bright with city lights, the other side quiet and empty. Matthew 25:32 says, "He will separate the nations the way a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats." That snow wall felt exactly like a picture of the final sorting. Every person, every nation, standing on one side or the other. Down on Malibu Beach, the ocean creatures put on a show nobody could forget. Thousands of fish moved together in perfect sync, forming the shape of a giant octopus right up near the sand. People watching were stunned and a little scared. Revelation 13 verse 1 says, "I stood on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rising out of the water." That strange dance of the fish felt like nature itself was sounding the alarm, saying, "Big trouble is coming straight from God." At Yosemite, Bridal Veil Fall suddenly ran bright gold in the summer sun, looking like fairy dust pouring down the cliff. Revelation 21 verse 18 talks about walls of pure gold in the holy city. That golden water felt like grace and hope shining through the warnings, a reminder that even in the middle of judgment there's still light to follow. It was comforting somehow, a bright spot among all the dark signs. And finally, at Crater Lake, a huge whirlpool opened up in the middle of the water and started swallowing everything around it, like an abyss cracking open right there in the lake. Genesis 7 verse 11 says, "All the springs of the great deep burst open, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened." That whirlpool was a dead ringer for Noah's flood, sweeping away the old sinful world. Proof that God's power is still here and still fair. When you line up all seven, the meteors, the blood-red cloud, the ring in the sky, the wall of snow, the fish, the golden waterfall, and the whirlpool, you see one long story running from heaven to earth, from fire to water. It's one big warning about the great cleansing that's coming. Science can explain the surface stuff, but the Bible gives the real meaning underneath. 2025 wasn't just another year. It was a turning point year, when everybody has to choose wake up or miss the chance to be saved. All these things remind us that nature, the sky, the sea, the mountains, the lakes, isn't just physics happening. It's a mirror showing God's power, His mercy, and His judgment. Can you feel the universe almost shaking a little, sending messages through light and color and motion? If you pay close attention, every single detail has something to say. The small quiet ones and the huge scary ones, and they're all watching which way we walk. Every one of these events, when you really look at it, isn't just pretty or frightening scenery. It's a gentle or not so gentle nudge about our responsibility, our faith, and the choices we still get to make. From Noah's day clear up to right now, this string of signs is a wake-up call, a warning, and a promise of hope all at once, putting us face to face with the Creator like never before. If you've followed the whole chain, you know 2025 is a year we won't forget. The year nature and heaven came together. Each strange event, another puzzle piece, and only the folks who keep their eyes and ears open will understand the full message that's being uncovered. So, do you ever wonder what the big message is hiding behind all these signs? Want to dig in with me and figure out what God's trying to tell us by putting these 7 clear warnings right in front of the whole world? You ready? These 7 things aren't just random events anymore. They're like urgent pulses coming straight from the universe, calling humanity by name. When the meteor lights up the sky, red clouds drift by, a cloud ring opens wide, a wall of snow shows up, schools of fish form the shape of an octopus, a golden waterfall shines bright, and a huge whirlpool swallows the water. Everything lines up in one long chain, from heaven to earth, from light to darkness, reminding us the time is close. We can't put it off. We can't shrug it off. The message from God is loud and clear. Mankind is about to face the second great cleansing. Isaiah 24:1 says it plain as day. Look, the Lord is going to empty the earth and make it a wasteland. He'll twist its surface and scatter its people. Every single one of these events is living proof that the power of the Creator isn't just stuck in an old book. It's happening right now, up in the sky, down in the oceans, even deep in the ground. Look at these signs and ask yourself, are we ready in our hearts? 2 Peter 3:6-7 keeps right on going. The world of that time was flooded and destroyed, but the heavens and earth that exist now are being saved by God's word for fire. They're being kept for the day of judgment and the destruction of ungodly people. When you see those fish lined up like an octopus, it's almost like creation itself is shouting the warning. Nature is joining in to say the coming flood won't just be water, it'll be judgment on our souls. Time's running out fast. Every second pushes us closer to the choice between salvation and being lost forever. That wall of snow isn't just some weird weather. It's a living picture of the final separation. Matthew 25:32 says, "He will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats." End quote. Every event, the golden waterfall, the whirlpool, fits together like pieces of a prophecy puzzle, shouting that judgment is coming soon. Nobody gets missed, and every single thing we do, every choice we make, really matters. The main message is crystal clear. Repent right now. Get your spirit ready, and understand that the second great flood is coming in all kinds of ways, through nature, through society, through our very souls. From the skies over America to deep in the ground in Europe, every place is turning into a sign, especially the important spots, reminding the whole world that God's power is everywhere. There's no more time to sit on the fence. Every action, every minute, could change where we end up. Keep your eyes open for every little detail. The lights, the colors, the movement. Each event is a living warning. Each sign is a call we can't ignore. 2025 isn't just another year. It's the deciding year. The year that opens the door to choose between salvation and judgment. All these events are pointing to one thing. The great cleansing is almost here, and we've got to wake up right now. Looking from history to today, from Noah's day to our modern world, the message never changes. Get ready, stay awake, turn to the Creator. The ones who listen and act will find light even in the darkest times. The ones who ignore it will face a flood of body and soul that they can't escape. Every sign, from shooting stars to whirlpools, from golden waterfalls to walls of snow, is the universe's final heartbeat, inviting us to look at ourselves, choose the path of life or death, and remember that God's power is still running the whole show. Do you see it yet? Every moment is a chance to choose. The second great flood isn't some far-off prediction anymore. It's happening, one sign at a time, one sight at a time. And only the people who wake up, hear God's message, and act fast will be able to stand when the judgment that's coming finally gets here. 2025 isn't just another year on the calendar. It's the turning point, the final chapter, where 7 strange things in the world are painting a clear picture of the great cleansing that's coming soon. From shooting stars lighting up the sky to blood-red clouds, from a ring of clouds that looked like an open gate in heaven, a wall of snow splitting things apart, octopuses and fish crying out for help, a golden waterfall shining in the mountains, and a giant whirlpool swallowing everything. These are like the universe beating a fast drum, warning us we can't wait any longer. Listen close to the trumpet sound coming through every one of those signs. Let your heart hear God's message. Walk through that open door in the middle of all the chaos and find your safe place in His hands. Malachi 4:2 says, "But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings." Anyone who respects and fears the Lord who's ready to turn back to him and walk toward the light, will be protected and comforted. Look again at those 7 signs. Do you see how they all fit together? The sky, the earth, the oceans, every living thing, they're all shouting the same urgent message that's scary, but also full of hope. This isn't made-up stuff. This is a direct wake-up call for every single one of us, reminding us the time to choose is almost gone. Take a quiet minute right now. Pray and ask yourself, am I ready to walk through that open door? Is my heart wide open to receive the righteousness and healing God wants to give me? Every one of those signs is a reminder that God's power is still here, and the chance to run to Him for safety won't last forever. If you feel that urgent beat, if these strange but real signs are getting through to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this, like it, subscribe to the channel so more folks can wake up, see these messages for themselves, and find safety in God's hands before the great cleansing hits. Are you ready? Now's the time to move, to pray, and to put your whole trust in Him. Every second counts. Every choice matters. 2025, with its 7 signs, is the last loud warning. Wake up, turn back to God, and trust Him completely. Walk forward with courage and hope. Let the sun of righteousness rise over you, with healing in its wings. Light up your heart and your life, guide you through whatever's coming, and keep you safe under His protection. You've seen the signs. You've heard the trumpet. Now it's time to act, pray, and share this life or death message with the world. Have you ever truly felt the raw power of God? I'm not talking about a gentle breeze or a sudden rain shower. I mean that moment when your heart skips a beat and it feels like the whole world is about to rip apart. Have you ever stood right in front of His real anger? The kind that turns the sky a different color and makes everybody tremble? That's not just nature anymore. That's power way beyond anything we can wrap our heads around. Just in the first few months of 2025, disasters started hitting one after another like wake-up calls you can't ignore. Monster floods tore through Asia. Mudslides swallowed whole cities in the Middle East. Landslides crushed villages in South America. And out of nowhere, giant waves rose up in the middle of the ocean. The experts counted over 500 people gone in the first 3 months alone. But cold numbers like that can't tell you how scared and helpless everyone felt. And right in the middle of all that, folks started asking themselves, is this really just bad luck? Or are these signs warnings from God because people keep sliding deeper into sin, turning their backs on faith, and acting like we're bigger than the universe? Because when you stand next to His power, we're nothing but tiny specks of dust, so fragile that one strong gust can knock down everything we've built. So before you decide what's real and what isn't, just look at the real moments cameras caught. 7 clips, 7 reminders, 7 signs nobody can brush off. Make sure you watch all the way to the end so you can see the full strength and mighty power of the Lord. And so you don't have to wait any longer. Let's dive right in and look at these 7 pieces of video that captured nature going absolutely wild, showing the fearful wrath of God Himself. 1. A devastating tornado tears through streets in China. Back in May 2025, in Henan Province, China, the sky was calm 1 second and then suddenly turned pitch black, like someone flipped off the light switch. A couple of seconds later, a monster tornado slammed down right onto the road where a husband and wife were driving home. Winds hit up to 150 miles an hour, strong enough to toss the car in front of them around like it weighed nothing, while trees on both sides of the road got ripped out of the ground all at once, like some invisible hand just yanked them up. Anyone watching that video has to hold their breath. If you were behind that wheel, do you think you could have kept the car on the road? Right after that, roofs started peeling off houses. spinning up into the sky and vanishing like they were never there. Everything, trash cans, signs, heavy sheets of metal, got lifted into the air so easily it was more creepy than amazing. The wind didn't just take things. It took away any feeling of safety across 10 square miles, leaving millions of dollars in damage and total chaos on the roads. By the time it's over, you're probably like me, hair standing up on the back of your neck, because nature can be a whole lot scarier than we like to think. The Bible puts it in a way that'll give you chills. In Nahum 1 verse 3, it says, "The Lord is slow to anger, but great in power. The Lord will never leave the guilty unpunished. His way is in the whirlwind and the storm, and clouds are the dust of his feet." When you line those words up next to the footage from Henan, it's hard to call it just another storm. It really does look like his way is in the whirlwind, a loud reminder that he's still watching, and sometimes he uses the weather itself to judge sin. The part of the video that sticks with you the most is the moment the tornado picks that car up like a toy. All our technology, steel, horsepower, worthless in one little twist of wind. It instantly brings to mind Psalm 83 verse 13. "My God, make them like tumbleweed, like chaff before the wind." And that's exactly what happened. Anything in its path got swept away like dry straw, showing just how fragile we really are compared to God's power. And this is only the first sign. If one tornado in Asia can turn a whole area upside down like that, just wait till you see what's coming next in the Middle East, where rivers of mud are quietly creeping in like a dark shadow. Another warning, even scarier, is waiting in the next part. 2. A thick mud flow sweeps through the Middle East. In the scorching heat of July 2025, nobody would have ever guessed that a disaster straight out of another world could hit the desert outside Dubai. In just a few minutes, rainwater mixed with decades of dry, loose dirt and rock turned into a thick, milky yellow wall of mud that rolled forward like a silent monster. It slid through neighborhoods real quiet-like, but the power was so awful that the moment it touched a wall, the whole thing came crashing down. If you'd been standing there right then, you'd have felt your skin crawl, watching a 5-foot-deep river of mud coming at you nearly 20 miles an hour. Hundreds of folks got caught off guard and ran for their lives in pure panic. Just picture it. Heavy, sticky mud, moving fast as a regular flood, swallowing everything in its path. No explosions, no howling wind, just an eerie hush right before an entire wall disappeared. That quiet was the scariest part, because it didn't give people time to realize they were already surrounded. Way back in the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 5, it says almost the exact same thing. "The Lord God of hosts, he who touches the land and it melts, and all who dwell there mourn." When you saw that mud flow, it hit you hard. The ground really did melt, just like the Bible said. One touch from the Lord, and all our pride about living safe in the desert got ripped away. But the thing that stuck with people the most wasn't the crashing houses or the crushed buildings. It was how the mud swallowed everything whole, like a giant mouth. When the video spread, a lot of folks remembered Psalm 69, verse 15. "Let not the floodwater overflow me, nor let the deep swallow me up, and let not the pit shut its mouth on me." That mud was the deep coming to life, a frightening picture of judgment for anyone who thought the desert would keep them safe forever. And you know what was the worst part of all? The silence after the mud finally drained away. No more voices, just bits and pieces of walls left standing, like someone had chewed them up and spit them out. The desert, supposed to be dry and empty, suddenly stood there as plain proof that nature can switch from calm to deadly in the blink of an eye. From that quiet, deadly mud flow, our journey takes us to something even more shocking. Because once we leave the desert and head up the rough mountain roads, nature keeps showing that God's anger can show up anywhere. And sometimes it hits so fast a person doesn't even have time to catch their breath. 3. The sudden mountain landslide. Back in March 2025, high up in the freezing cold of the Tian Shan Mountains, a guy accidentally caught one of those moments on his dashcam that'll still make your hands go ice cold just watching it again. The video shows dirt, rocks, trees, and huge boulders, some weighing thousands of pounds, suddenly breaking loose from the mountainside and crashing down like a wall collapsing. In just a few